The Second Epistle to the Corinthians, Chapter 7, Lesson 8. In studying this chapter, 1. To see how God can use others to comfort us, and 2. To understand true repentance, what leads to it, and what is the evidence that it has occurred. Chapter 7 begins with Paul summarizing his pleas to the Corinthians made in the previous chapter. Again, he calls for spiritual purity and for hearts wide open. 2 Corinthians 7, 1 through 3. Having therefore these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Open your hearts to us. We wronged no one. We corrupted no one. We took advantage of no one. I say this not to condemn you, for I have said before that you are in our hearts to die together and live together. Paul returns now to a point where he left off in chapter 2, his anxiety when searching for Titus. Cf. 2, 12 through 13. After arriving in Macedonia, he finds him, and the report Titus has from the church in Corinth is a source of great comfort and joy to Paul. Indeed, even the manner in which Titus was received by the Corinthians filled Paul with joy. 2 Corinthians 7, 4 through 5. Great is my boldness of speech toward you. Great is my boasting on your behalf. I am filled with comfort. I overflow with joy in our affliction. For even when we had come into Macedonia, our flesh had no relief, but we were afflicted on every side. Fightings were outside, fear was inside. 2 Corinthians 7, 6 through 7. Nevertheless, he who comforts the lowly, God comforted us by the coming of Titus, and not by his coming only, but also by the comfort with which he was comforted in you. While he told us of your longing, your mourning, and your zeal for me, so that I rejoice still more. The Corinthians had received a previous letter from Paul with much sorrow, but with a godly sorrow that led to true repentance. Paul could see that, and he wanted them to know it was only out of care for them he had written it. 2 Corinthians 7, 8 through 10. For though I made you sorry with my letter, I do not regret it, though I did regret it. For I see that my letter made you sorry, though just for a while. Now I rejoice, not that you were made sorry, but that you were made sorry to repentance. For you were made sorry in a godly way, that you might suffer loss by us in nothing. For godly sorrow works repentance to salvation, which brings no regret, but the sorrow of the world works death. 2 Corinthians 7, 11 through 12. For behold, this same thing, that you were made sorry in a godly way, what earnest care it worked in you. Yes, what defense, indignation, fear, longing, zeal, and vengeance. In everything you demonstrated yourselves to be pure in the matter. So, although I wrote to you, I wrote not for his cause that did the wrong, nor for his cause that suffered the wrong, but that your earnest care for us might be revealed in you in the sight of God. Thus, the way they had received Titus and Paul's letter, rendering quick obedience, gave Paul confidence in the Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 7, 13 through 14. Therefore we have been comforted. In our comfort we rejoice the more exceedingly for the joy of Titus, because his spirit has been refreshed by you all. For if in anything I have boasted to him on your behalf, I was not disappointed. But as we spoke all things to you in truth, so our glorying also which I made before Titus was found to be truth. 2 Corinthians 7, 15 through 16. His affection is more abundantly toward you, while he remembers all of your obedience, how with fear and trembling you received him. I rejoice that in everything I am of good courage concerning you. The Second Epistle to the Corinthians, Chapter 7, Lesson 8, the end.